Hey folks, I've been working on the tank tonight, on the petrol tank, doing a few things, getting it ready. So one of the things I've done is I've installed the tank bottom. This is the bit that normally holds the filter and the pump on the CBR 929, which is a fuel injected bike. So the pump and the fuel filter normally go inside the tank. As I'm putting on a bike with carburetors, I've not put the fuel pump or the filter inside it. They're going in the bike, which we shall maybe talk about tomorrow, as I'm going to be working on the fuel system tomorrow. This is basically the tank bottom. I've used a new gasket. I got a new gasket from the Honda dealer. That's the old fuel system gasket. As you can see, it's kind of a bit tired looking, a bit dirty. So that one's going to get chucked. Put a new one in there. Put lots of grease on it, like on the surface and on the underneath of the tank bottom, to make it just kind of sit well and just kind of seal well, you know. So bolted it on with these nuts, some washers, and these nuts that I got with my stainless steel bolts, the dome nuts or cap nuts, whatever they're called. So that's what I've used to put that on. So that's kind of like a start on the fuel system. This is the banjo bolt. I've got a banjo fitting to fit this. So I'll be putting that on tomorrow when I'm working on the fuel system. I'm going to try and get the fuel system built tomorrow. The idea is that we're hoping to have the bike running for tomorrow, not tomorrow, for the weekend. But obviously I can't promise this, depends how it goes. So that's the banjo bolt. So I've got a banjo union to go with that. So I'll just screw on there. So that's that. This bit here I think I'll use for this is like a return pipe. Again, because it's fuel injected, because it's a fuel injection bike, the 929, it has a fitting for a return pipe. On a carburetted bike I don't think you have a return pipe, so I think probably what I'll do with that is I'll just connect a hose on, and then I've got a tap, like a, what do they call it, a petcock or something, like one of those on order. So I think probably what I'll do is I'll put some hose on there, run that to the petcock, and then just run the hose out the bottom. I can use that to drain the tank when I want to. And then this will be the main, this banjo fitting will be the main hose that goes to the carburetors. So that's that side of it. And then what else have I done? I've put a grommet in there. That's to bolt that onto the rear mount. So that's got a rubber grommet that'll help it hold it a bit more securely, I think. And then the main thing that I've done tonight, the thing that's been really a lot of work, is making this tank mount fitting. Okay, so the CBR 929 has two bolts bolting the tank to the chassis, whereas the CBR 900 has one bolt. So obviously I've had to make a bracket to adapt it. So what I've done is I've made this bracket out of I think it's like 3mm thick or something, aluminium plate. So basically what I did was I cut it to the shape that I want. So these bits, these corners are kind of cut off to fit with the kind of shape of the chassis at the headstock. So you'll kind of see what I mean when I've got the tank on the bike, and we can see what it looks like. So that hole there, that fits over like there's kind of like a raised bit where the bolt goes into on the chassis. So I've drilled that out. That's like a 15, I think it's about 15mm hole, and deburred it. Still a little bit rough actually. I did deburr it with a file, but it's a wee bit rough, but it's not too bad. It's not enough to cut yourself on. Right, so then what I've done is I put rubber grommets in these two holes, because these are quite large holes, and I'm using like whatever these are. I think there's like M6 or M8 bolts, I'm not sure, but anyway. So I put those bolts through in washers. You'll probably notice the bolts are different lengths and they're both a bit too long. It's basically because I'm kind of running out of bolts the right length, because I seem to have used tons of like short kind of bolts, like 1 inch long or sort of 1.5 inch long or whatever on the build, and I've basically kind of run out of bolts that size, so I ended up using these two. I think that one's like 2.5 inches or something. That's about 3 or 3, no, maybe not 3.5, 3 inches. I don't know, whatever they are. They're too long anyway, as you can see. But what I'll do is at some point I'll get bolts at the right length. Either that, or I'll just cut these down with bolt cutters just to tidy it up a bit, you know. But that's basically the tank mount on. It's quite sturdy. I've done it up. I didn't do it with a torque wrench. I've not done it to a specific torque. I just did them with spanners. But I mean, it's not, there's no give in it really. It's pretty solid, you know. So the idea of making it kind of wide like that is that these bits will actually sit on the sides of the chassis, and that will make the tank a bit more stable, give the tank a bit of sort of side to side stability kind of thing. I think what I might actually do is I might actually cut out a piece of gasket rubber and just glue the gasket rubber on here, because if it's got rubber on the underneath, that'll help it kind of sit nicely on the chassis. You know, if you, anywhere that you're putting metal against metal, it'll go together better if you put some rubber between it or something like that, because it just means that you can kind of press it together. It just makes it nice and firm, and means that there's not going to be any kind of give or any kind of rattle in it, you know. So I might just do that. I might just put a bit of gasket rubber on there, just cut out a piece that fits on there and then fit it. So that's the tank mount and the tank bottom. I don't know what the proper name is for that. If anyone knows the name for this piece, the bit that holds the filter and the pump, please tell me. I'm just calling it a tank bottom because I don't know what it's called. So tank bottom and the mount done. And then the third thing that I've done on the tank tonight is this absolutely gorgeous gas cap or petrol cap, which came in the post today. Now this is one of the few parts that I've actually not got off eBay. Okay, this part was actually off Amazon. Can't remember the name of the seller, unfortunately, off the top of my head. If I remember, or if I can find it, I might put it in the notes on the video. It was £12.97, I think, or thereabouts, and I think a few pounds postage, so it's about 15 quid including postage. And it's a really nice alloy gas cap, petrol cap, anodized. It's anodized black. I fitted it with 3 Allen bolts. Used 3 of my stainless steel Allen bolts from the set that I bought at the beginning to bolt it down, and a washer in each one. It's got like a rubber seal around it, which fits around the actual filler hole. So it's a really good fit. Kind of looks amazing. I actually quite like the contrast of the kind of black and the yellow. It actually looks quite good. I wasn't too keen on the yellow tank, but when I see it next to that, I almost kind of quite like it. But anyway, so that's the gas cap. Obviously it's not a locking gas cap. You just unscrew it. It's just like a screw fitting. It's like a sort of 2 or 3 turns and you just lift it out, and that's the filler hole. Like I say, it's got a rubber seal in there. You can't really see the rubber seal, but basically it seals it down to the you probably can't see, it's too dark I think, but it's like the actual hole in the top of the tank, the steel bit, is just inside there, and then there's like a little rubber seal, and when you tighten the bolts down, the rubber seal acts like a kind of gasket, so that kind of seals it. So I'm really pleased with that. It's basically like 15 quid filler cap. I mean, I could have gone and bought like you know, a proper Honda one or whatever, but they're sort of 50 or 60 quid, so you're paying like 4 times as much. And to be honest, that actually looks nicer than an original Honda filler cap, you know. It's got these nice little CBR logos in it, which looks pretty nice as well. So yeah, I'm very pleased with that. It's a really nice gas cap. They're quite easy to find ones like this either on eBay or Amazon. There's quite a lot going about, so if you want a gas cap of that style, there you go, 15 quid, can't argue with that. Obviously the only slight problem is that there's no key for it, but to be honest I think it's pretty unlikely anyone's going to siphon petrol, you know, so I think that's kind of okay. So that's the gas cap, the tank bottom and the tank mount done. So plan is to do the fuel system tomorrow. When I bought the gasket at the Honda dealers, I was discussing the how to put the fuel system together. And I think I've actually done it the wrong way around. See what I've done, I've put I think I did a video about this before, I can't remember, but so I've got the fuel pump there, I've got this hose which is meant to connect to the bottom of the tank, and I've got the fuel filter there. The fuel filter, the way I've done it, is between the fuel pump and the carburetors. I don't think that's right. It's meant to be the other way around. So it's meant to be the fuel pump is supposed to pump the fuel straight into the carburetors, and the fuel filter is meant to be between the tank and the fuel pump. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take the fuel filter out of there. I'll need to cut a length. I've ordered some more of this stuff off eBay, some more of this hose. It's like, I can't remember, I think it's 10mm or 8. No, I think it's 8mm hose actually. I can't remember, whatever it is. Anyway, I've ordered some more of that just in case I need it. So I'll take that filter out. I'll run a hose from the pump straight to the carbs, and then I'll put the filter on this, the inlet. That's the inlet. So you've got like inlet and outlet. So fuel goes in, fuel goes out. So I'm going to put just a straight hose from the one where the fuel goes out into the carbs, and then put the filter on this one, and then, you know, put the hose up onto the bottom of the tank kind of thing. So that's not too big a deal. I mean, obviously it would have been good if I'd done it right from the first place, but there you go. You know, I'll soon sort it. So the bike's pretty much ready to run. I'm hoping to maybe run it on Saturday. I'm not actually, obviously I can't actually take it out on the road because it's not got its MOT or anything yet, so all I'm going to do is take it outside, just run the engine a bit and see if the engine runs. If it does, well, either way really, I'll make a video about it. If I've got the engine running, I'll try and make a video actually with the engine running. You can see how the engine sounds when I run it, you know. Hoping it should sound pretty good with that sort of art end can and everything, so but we'll see. So what else have I done? Oh yeah, a slight problem, actually quite a big problem, but I'm sure I can fix it. The bit here, the hole that goes into the radiator just below the radiator cap, you can't really see it because it's kind of dark under there, but there's a hole under there, right? And there's an aluminium bit that sticks off, and I put a hose on it, but unfortunately it's come off. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to attach a hose to that. I'm going to have to think of something. The hose that comes from there goes to the expansion tank. So what I've done is I've got an improvised expansion tank. This is not completed yet. This is just, you know, obviously I'm working on it. What this is actually, it's an Easy Bleed bottle. That's an old Easy Bleed plastic bottle. And what I've done is I've just cut the top off an old Monster can and Jubilee clipped it on there just to make it kind of look decent. And then I've cable tied it onto the chassis. But I'm going to change that cable tie because I used the white cable tie and it looks horrible. I used some black cable ties and it look okay. And then I just need to work out a way of getting a hose from this. Basically, I've basically just got a little tiny hole there. So I need to work out a way of screwing something into that hole. I tried putting the bit of metal back in, the little metal pipe back in, and putting a bit of epoxy on it and sticking it in, but that didn't work. The epoxy's not really holding it, it just kind of drops straight out again, so that's no good. So I'm gonna have to think of something else. Maybe need to cut a new thread and get something that kind of screws in there, or I don't know, maybe have to use a banjo bolt or something. I don't really know, but I'll figure something out. I just need a way of getting basically a fluid from the top of the radiator into the bottle, and a hose that goes down into the bottle, so that when the engine cools down again and it sucks the fluid back in, it needs to suck the antifreeze from this bottle back into the radiator, not air. I mean, theoretically you could run around with just that hole there, and what would happen is as the antifreeze heats up and the valve on the cap opens, it would just blow antifreeze out here basically. So I'd probably get like hot antifreeze all over my legs, which would be a bit crap. But even apart from that, then the problem is then when it cools down, it's going to suck air back into the radiator instead of water. And obviously if you get air back into the system, then you've got to keep filling it and filling it. Every time I stop, I'm going to have to, you know, put more antifreeze in, put more water in, which is just going to be a pain in the backside. So I really need to get an expansion bottle sorted out. So just a bit of a pain that this thing broke out, but it doesn't matter. I'll fix it. I'll figure out a way of fixing it somehow, and I think it'll look quite good. I quite like the look of that once it's done. I quite like the look of that sort of monster bottle on the side there. I think that looks quite cool. I've seen that in quite a lot of Street Fighter type bikes, where they put like an energy drink bottle or something like that on the side of the bike. So yeah, so I'm still working on it. Still got quite a few bits and pieces to do before it can go in for the MOT. Obviously it's got to have the headlights on. I tried to build a frame to attach onto these lugs to hold the headlights. I was trying to weld that in my welding class yesterday night, but I couldn't get it to work. Plan was to kind of like hang the headlights out there and then put the clocks on top of it and what have you, but it didn't really work out. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do at this stage. Actually, I'm debating just giving up on the clip-on bars. I've actually got some flat drag bars and some risers. I think what I might do is I might just put flat bars on it. And if I put flat bars on it, what that's going to do is that's going to get all the clutch hose and all these brake hoses and everything. It's going to get them all up and away from the front of the forks. And then what I can do is I can just put the lights straight onto the front of the forks. But that'll be after I've run the engine this weekend, if I decide to do that. I might just do that. I don't know. I haven't decided. There's plenty of length in these hoses. To be honest, I think these hoses that I got off eBay must have been designed for a bike that had flat bars, because they're too long with the clip-ons. There's like too much extra length. And if I had flat bars and they were up here about another 6 inches higher, they'd just be about perfect length. So I'm thinking I might just do that. Thinking I might just put the flat bars on. We'll see. Anyway, this video is getting a bit long, but thanks for watching.